belief being in yoga that we have 7 chakras, and Chakrasana is to be able to activate and balance each of these chakras through this particular pose. So come first to a neutral tabletop position. We're going to ensure that we have our shoulders and our wrists, our hips and our knees in one line. It's important in back bends to ensure that you warm up your spine before coming into them. So start to draw your chin in towards your chest, press into the heels of your hands and round your back. And then releasing, bringing your sit bones up towards the ceiling, guiding your heart forward and through. You can either have your toes resting on the mat. If you prefer to have your toes tucked, you can do that as well. Just ensure that you don't have your heels collapsing in towards each other. And then continue this way, inhaling, drawing your heart forward and through your arms, and then exhaling, rounding your back, becoming aware of any stickiness that you may notice along your spine. And then we'll do this just once more, drawing your heart forward and through, and then exhale, drawing in, and returning back to a neutral spine. Now from here, you're going to guide your hands forward in front of you, bring your knees slightly back behind you, and then pull yourself forward and down onto your belly, untuck your toes. You can guide yourself into Bhujangasana. So slide your hands down to mid-chest. Notice where your elbows are pointing. This is important because you're going to need to have your elbows in a similar alignment to Bhujangasana to support you in Chakrasana. So start to press the tops of your toes down onto the mat. Have your elbows pointing up towards the ceiling rather than out to the side. And then think of guiding your shoulder blades down your back. Now you may notice for yourself a considerable amount of weight on your hands. Try to keep your fingers light. The weight is on the pelvis, not the hands. And then press down so much onto the tops of your toes that your knees are lifting. Now again, bringing your shoulder blades down your back. Use the heels of your hands to pull forward and then start to guide yourself up. Now as you're guiding yourself up, keep pressing onto the tops of your toes, keep the elbows drawn in against the side body, and then just notice with your fingers. Try to keep again your fingers light. On your exhale, slowly bring yourself back down. Tuck your toes, bring your hips to your heels, but then untuck your toes and guide your hips back towards your heels, coming into Uttita Balasana, extended child's pose. On your next breath, walk your hands towards you, cross your ankles, or if you prefer, you can come onto your right or your left side and bring your legs out in front of you. Now you're going to scooch up your mat, take your feet hip-width distance in parallel, and ensure that your fingers are pointing towards your heels. Your fingers are going to be in this position when you come into Chakrasana. So from here, be thinking about pressing into your feet, pressing into the heels of your hands. As you do so, you're going to begin to lift your hips. As you lift your hips, bring your shoulder blades closer in towards each other. You may find for yourself that it's more preferable for you to have your feet a little further, in which case move your feet further and then start to lift up. And as you're lifting up, bringing your shoulder blades closer in towards each other, finding a neutral position for your head, breathing here. And then exhale, guiding yourself down. We're going to come into Balasana as a counter pose. So think about either with your feet, with the soles touching, or you can separate the soles of your feet, bringing your heels closer in towards each other, and then starting to draw your torso towards either your feet or rounding your back. On your next breath, you're going to guide yourself back up. Bring your knees in towards each other. Bring your hands down. Scoot yourself a little further up your mat. And then have your palms facing up and come down onto your back. Now once you come down onto your back, bring your heels towards you. We're going to come into bridge pose. When you're in bridge pose, watch with your knees. If your knees splay away in bridge pose, that's what's going to start to happen when you begin to guide yourself into Chakrasana. And you're not going to have the foundation that's required in order to come into the full expression of the pose. So try to be thinking of having your knees and your ankles in one line. When you first come into bridge pose, think pushing into the heels of the feet and lifting the hips. Now, if you notice for yourself that the range is here, be there. You can keep your palms pressing down onto the mat. If you find for yourself you can keep pressing into your feet, engaging your quads, then you can begin to guide your shoulder blades a little closer in towards each other and keep lifting the hips. Now from here, you may find that it's comfortable for you and available to interlace your fingers, bring your shoulder blades even closer in towards each other, keep pressing into your feet, keep lifting your heart. You can bring your gaze to look right at the center of your chest. Stay here for one more breath. And then exhale, lift your heels, release, and slowly guide yourself down. Now once you come down, take your feet, draw them to the edge of your mat, let your knees come in towards each other, and allow your hands to rest on your belly. Now a few things before we come into Chakrasana to be aware of in terms of alignment. Make sure that your feet are at least hip width distance. In Chakrasana, you can have your feet further away. When you start to guide your hips up towards the ceiling, ensure your fingers are pointing towards your heels and that your elbows are pointing up towards the ceiling. So here, with your elbows pointing up, is Bhujangasana. Here, with your fingers pointing towards your heels, is what we did in reverse tabletop. The pressing and into your feet and the lifting of the hips, engaging the quads, think what we did in bridge pose. But when you have your fingers here, watch that the elbows don't splay away from each other, as I mentioned. And then from this place, what I'd like you to first think is pressing into your feet, using the strength of your legs. Your legs are primary, your arms are secondary. So as you start to come up and you lift your hips, try to avoid relying on the heels of your hands to guide you up, or you'll feel locked in, and that will be very challenging to guide your head to the floor. So from here, start to push into your feet, begin to lift up. This is the first stage. If you feel comfortable here, you can either remain here, or now you can start to be thinking of pushing into the heels of your hands to guide yourself. Now as you guide yourself, think as Bhujangasana, you're pulling your heart forward and through your arms. Now, if you feel comfortable to do so, you can come up onto your toes and lift your heels away from the floor. If you feel comfortable to do so, you can walk your feet closer to you. As you walk your feet closer to you, you can keep your heels lifted, or you can bring your heels down, but keep pushing into the heels of your hands. On your next breath, come back up, walk your feet forward, bring the crown of your head down, slowly guide your spine down. Bring your knees in towards your chest and just hug in tight. On your next breath, take your hands behind your legs, rock yourself up. You may need to again just shift slightly. Bring your legs out in front of you. The counter pose to Chakrasana is Paschimottasana. So think about folding forward, taking your arms out in front of you, and breathing here. And then use your next breath to bring yourself up. And then returning back to the seated position that you took at the very beginning. Bring your hands together at your heart. So back bends are very energizing. Sometimes when you come out of them, you can feel a little nauseous. Just always return back to the breath. Let it settle. And each time you come to the pose, you can find more depth. You can explore that depth, but within the range that's available to you right now. So of course, don't ever force the body into positions. Just be curious about where you can go, and then ease out, give your body an opportunity to rest. The light within me honors the light within you. I wish you all the best on your journey into Chakrasana. Namaste.